This video is about graphing a system of linear inequalities on a coordinate plane and identifying the solution set of a linear inequality. So when we are solving a system of linear equalities, we are going to graph both inequalities on the grid, and then where their shaded regions overlap is going to represent these solutions to the system. So if we look at number one, we have two linear inequalities. So the first equation is y is greater than 3x minus 9. So we already have the y by itself in this case. So we're going to use the equation to find the information we need to graph. So the slope is going to be the number in front of the x. So in this case, our slope is 3 over 1. The y-intercept is going to be the number by itself, 0, negative 9. After I do that, I need to look at my symbol. And because it's a greater than symbol, that's going to be a dashed line. And because it's greater, we are going to shade above. So we're going to go to negative 9 on the y-axis. We're going to use our slope up 3 over 1 all the way across our graph. Then we are going to connect our points using a dotted line. Making sure we add arrows at the end. Then because it's a greater, we are going to shade above. Once we have our shaded region complete, then we are going to look at our second equation. So y is less than or equal to 3/4 x plus 1. So again, the y is by itself, so we can graph right away. So our slope is the number in front of x, 3/4. Our y-intercept is the number by itself, so 0, 1. Because we have a less than or equal to, because of that bar underneath our inequality sign, this is going to be a solid line, and we are going to shade below. So when we go to graph, we're going to start at 1 on the y-axis. We're going to go up 3 over 4 all the way across our graph, and then go the other direction, we can go down 3 and left 4. So we have multiple points. Then we're going to connect them in a solid line. And in this case, we are going to shade below. Now that we have our shaded region, we're going to look and see if something is a solution. So to be a solution, it needs to be in the overlap of the shaded region, or it needs to be on a solid line bordering the shaded region. Overlapping shaded region. Okay, so that means anywhere where this is green, because the yellow and the blue have overlapped, is going to be a solution as well as anything on this solid green line. So the first point that we are going to look at is negative 3, 5. So negative 3, 5 is up here. It's only in the blue shading, so this is not a solution to our system of linear equalities. Our next point is 1, negative 2. Now 1, negative 2 is where the colors overlap, so this would be a solution. And our last one is 0, negative 9, which is on a dotted line, and dotted lines do not have solutions. It's only if it was on a solid line. So let's look at another graph. Our next equation we have then is 4y plus 8 is less than negative x. So in order to get y by itself, the first thing we would do is subtract 8 from both sides. 4y is less than negative x minus 8. Then we would divide every term by 4. So y is less than negative 1/4 x minus 2. Now if I look at the equation, the y is by itself, so we can find our slope and our y-intercept. So our slope is what's in front of the x, so it would be negative 1/4. Our y-intercept is the number by itself, so 0, negative 2. Because this is a less than sign, we would have a dashed line, and we would shade below. So to graph our line, we're going to go to negative 2 on the y-axis. We're going to use the slope of down 1, right 4. To go the other direction, we can go up 1 and left 4. And then we're going to make a dashed line to connect our points and add arrows at the end of each line. And then we are going to shade below our line. The next equation to look at then is negative 3y is greater than x minus 9. So to get y by itself, we're going to divide every term by negative 3. Remember, when you divide by a negative, you need to flip your inequality symbol. So we have y is less than negative 1/3 x plus 3. So based on this equation, our slope is going to be negative 1/3. Our b value is going to be 0.3. Because it's a less than, we're going to have a dashed line, and we're going to shade below. So we're going to start at 3 on the y-axis. We're going to go down 1, right 3 across our graph. We're also going to go up 1, left 3 across our graph. And we can have a dashed line. And then we are going to shade below our line. And again, where it starts to turn green, we see that that overlaps, and that is where our solutions will lie. So our first point to determine is a solution is negative 3, negative 7. This is in the overlapping shaded region, so this would be a solution. Our next point is 0, negative 2. That's on the dotted line, so that is not a solution. And our third point is 3, 1. While it's in the yellow shaded region, it's not in the overlapping shaded region, so this is also not a solution. Let's try another graphing. So number 3, we have x plus y is greater than 5, and 2x minus 3y is less than or equal to 24. So the first equation, x plus y is greater than 5. In order to get y by itself, we're going to subtract x from both sides. So y is greater than negative x plus 5. With this equation, our slope in front of the x, which is the negative sign, so that would be negative 1/1. Our b value is the number that's by itself 0.5. That's our y-intercept, where we're going to start on the y-axis. Because it's a greater than sign, we are going to have a dashed line, and we are going to shade above. So I'm going to start at 5. I'm going to use my slope down 1, right 1, all the way across our graph. I can also go the other direction and go up 1, left 1 across our graph. So then I can connect these points in a dashed line. And I'm going to shade above. Our second equation is 2x minus 3y is less than or equal to 24. So in order to get y by itself, we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. So negative 3y is less than or equal to 2x plus 24. And then we're going to divide by negative 3. Now, because we divide by a negative, remember that you need to flip your inequality sign. So y is greater than or equal to 2/3 x minus 8. So with this equation, our slope is going to be 2/3. Our y-intercept is going to be 0, negative 8. Because it's a greater than or equal to, we would have a solid line because of the bar underneath it, and we are going to shade above. So when I go to start my graph, I'm going to start at negative 8 on the y-axis, and I'm going to go up 2, right 3 across the graph. I can also go down 2 and left 3. Then it's going to be a solid line to connect our points, arrows at the end of our lines, and we are going to shade above. So again, when we shade above, we start to see where our overlap is going to be for our solutions. In number 4, we have two special equations. We have an x and a y, which are going to be our horizontal and vertical lines. So the first equation is y equal to 5. So y's are always going to be horizontal lines. Because it's a greater than or equal to, it is a solid line, We are going to shade above. So we're going to go to 5 on the y-axis. We're going to draw a solid horizontal line through that point. And then we are going to shade above our line. Our next equation is x is less than 2. So x's are always going to be vertical lines. So if I go to 2, I have a vertical line through there. Then, because there is no bar underneath it, this is going to be a dashed line. Now, with x's, because they're vertical, we don't have an above and below. So we're just going to pay attention to the direction of the inequality. It's pointing to the left, so we are going to shade to the left. So we're going to go 2 on the x-axis. We're going to draw our dashed line through 2. And then we are going to shade to the left of our